Hello everybody, my name is Kris TED. Today we'll be talking about the 8 elements of thought, making it into a TED Talk video. Now the purpose is to find out when walking more than one dog, what is better, to walk them both on the same hand or hold them one in each hand. Now the question is, what is the easiest possible way to walk 2 dogs? Now, my situation is I don't always have time. I'm often short-handed. I have a little one to tend for, and I have 2 really rambunctious dogs. One is my fiance's, the other is mine. I have a 7-year-old Shiba Inu, which looks like a little fox, really adorable, but is a lot of work. He's very hyper, and the other one is a little grumpy pug. Together I call them Gloom and Doom, because together they are just monstrous. Um, and it's difficult sometimes to walk both of them. So we want to find out what is the best way to do so when walking together when time is an issue. Now, some information is what is needed to walk 2 dogs. Is walking one dog at a time an option? Is time always an option? Well, training and time something that will be needed in the situation. Now, interpretation and inferences. When time is an issue, walking 2 dogs is the only option. Walking 2 dogs can be dangerous. Only when dogs are properly secured should you then begin to start walking your dogs. For my interpretation, walking 2 dogs can be extremely dangerous. If the dogs are hyper, if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't know how to handle them, if your dogs break loose, that can be an issue because now you're holding one dog and trying to chase the other. What if there's people around? What if the dogs try to bite somebody? These are all questions that you really need to think about and infer when walking or before walking both of your dogs. These are some really good questions that need to be thought of. Now I'm basing that, that time is an issue and you have to both walk both dogs. You should hold them one on each arm. They do make tools that you can walk them together on the same arm with a V, but those tend to keep both dogs way too close. And in my situation, the dogs don't always get along and they have 2 totally different personalities. So from my experiences and the research that I've done, the training, and what the vet told me, the best way to walk both dogs when time is an issue, you should definitely try to walk um, one on each arm. And the thing is, the vet also and the trainer said you want to keep those dogs on the same arm, don't switch. So eventually they'll get classical condition to walking on that same hand. Um, Now, we're going to assume that both dogs know how to walk on a leash. It's really natural for most dogs to walk on a leash, considering that a lot of dogs have a lot of energy for the most part, unless they tend to live with somebody older. Um, you want to assume that both dogs somewhat get along. They don't have to fully get along, but usually when they're not in their same territory, they usually do have a tendency to get less territorial in turn. They do tend to somewhat get along because they really want to focus on marking things, peeing on different things, fire hydrants, and even exploring. And you want to assume that dogs are actually willing and able to walk on a leash. Hopefully they have all their legs. I have seen dogs with 3 legs. They're often called tripods. They're rescue dogs that they actually want to go outside. Some dogs just don't want to be walked. Some dogs rather like to go on puppy pads, which is also an option for some people. Those dogs usually tend to be smaller dogs, lazy owners, um, owners that are afraid to bring their dog out, um, or dogs that just don't have as much fur or get cold really easy. And you want to make sure that you have more than one leash and they're properly secured and you are able to handle these dogs in the case of a situation or emergency. Maybe even bring a cell phone with you. Um, so implications and consequences. So one is that you'll be able to walk both dogs at the same time, one in each hand, carefree. This is the overall goal. This is the end result. Hopefully that you will be able to complete this. A possible consequence is that if one dog doesn't get along with the other, this may not be able to happen. And when time is an issue, you might just have to wake up a little bit earlier and walk one dog at a time. And you do want, like I said, to have the necessary equipment if you can. And you have trained the dog to get the splitter at the end. That's walking two dogs simultaneously with, it looks like a V, and you can afford that. That might be an option also. We went with the point of view that two dogs that get along should be able to walk peacefully on two leashes, one in each hand. Like I said, this doesn't mean that it is always going to happen. This doesn't mean that problems won't go wrong and can't go wrong. That's just hopefully from my point of view and the end result. So you may want to practice with one dog in one hand with one leash as a trial run. Get them used to walking, get them exposed to the elements, get them used to the neighborhood, get them used to the people, the noises, the scenery. Just pretty much a trial run for what they're up against. You want to get really good with the first dog before you throw another dog into the mix, because if there are problems in the first run, adding another dog, of course, that's going to be double trouble or times two. So like I said, you always want to give it a trial run. Why did I choose this? Because I wanted a solution to walking more than one dog or walking both of my dogs. Like I said, I have a 7.5-year-old pug, which is very grumpy, very lazy, very stubborn, and I have a 6.5, 7-year-old Shiba Inu, which is very energetic. And like I said, time isn't always on my side, and it is for me most of the time an issue. And I do have to go to work. I have to drop my child off at school, so I do need to conserve as much time as possible, so that way I'm getting the right sleep and doing everything else that needs to be done, and in turn taking care of the dogs. The dogs need their exercise. This is one of the most necessary requirements for a dog, so that they have an outlet to burn off as much energy as they can. Walking is great for the dog. Um, you don't want them to have accidents in the house, and when they don't go outside and when they aren't walked, they tend to be very mischievous. They will get on your nerves. They will go to the bathroom in the house, and once they mark in the spot, it's like a boxing match. The dog always wants to go after the other dog and mark in its spot. You can clean it a million one times. Once the scent is there, it will always be there. So you really want to try to eliminate the situation altogether with the dogs not being able to go to the bathroom in the house. Um, so if you are new at this, you have to take into account that your dogs are not going to be perfect. It's not going to be um, a nice scenario. Your dogs will pull. You have to take that into consideration. If your dogs are not good on the leash, they will pull. So you do want to take that into consideration. You always want to be in control. You don't want to be their friends. You want to be stern, and actually, you want to have the upper hand. You don't want to let them know that, or have them think that they are above you. That's another reason why you should never let them sleep on the bed with you, because they think they're on the same page and on the same level as you. So you want to be in control, and you want to hold those reins tight. Do not be afraid to pull those back, and really tug on that leash. Let them know that you're in control. Do not give the dogs too much attention when they're on the leashes and outside. You want them to remain focused. You don't want also to give one dog more attention than the other, because if they do see that, they will get jealous of one another and it will just distract them. Um, Now you can get a over-the-face collar, which some people think it's mean and it hurts the dog, but in actuality, the trainer and vet have both said that it actually feels a little uncomfortable at first, so they are used to it, and then it actually feels like a pair of glasses for humans, as it would on the dog. So that's just another option if they are pulling, but pulling is another thing that you do want to take into account. So before you start walking both dogs at the same time, you definitely want to practice. You want to give yourself enough time. You don't want to assume anything, because anything that can happen will happen with rambunctious dogs that are very hyper. You always want to check the equipment to make sure that they're properly harnessed, that you have doggy bags to pick up after your dog. Um, you want to make sure that you are in the right location to walk your dog, like a park. You don't want them going to the bathroom on your neighbor's flowers, and then come to find out your neighbor's really upset with you, because that can cause some friction. So you always want to leave yourself enough time to check the equipment, or leave the equipment the night before. As always, practice makes perfect. The more you do it, the better you will get. You should be doing it the least is at least 3 times, once after they eat in the morning, a couple times at lunch, or once before you go to bed. The last thing you want to do is give your dog a bowl of water before bed, or something to eat, and then have him not go out and then have an accident. This is the worst possible situation you can have. You have to remember that the more the dogs get familiarized with themselves on the leashes, the better they will get. Like I said, practice makes perfect, or actually perfect practice makes perfect, I should say. Thank you. You could even leave the leashes on the dogs in the house. Let them get used to the leashes. Let them get exposed to it. Let them see each other on the leashes. Um, because, like I said, practice is perfect. You don't want to make this a chore. You want to make this fun, something that the dogs look forward to, because then they want to impress you. Dogs naturally want to impress their owners. They want to make you proud. That's why dogs are so great. They do want to impress you. They do want to love you, and they want to make them proud of you. So make this fun, a happy time. Bring some treats so that way they are enticed to do good. You don't want to make this a chore, kick your feet, huff and puff, and then do it halfway. You want to do it to the best of your ability, so that way they're doing it to the best way of their ability. In actuality, you're not training the dog. You're training, or the trainer is training you how to respond to the dog. That's what you really have to understand here. So don't want to make this a chore. You want to make this a happy time, make it fun, bring treats, bring toys, bring whatever they like that will make them do well, and use that for an incentive. Um, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. And again, this is something that is going to take practice. You want to be prepared, and once you become a little better at it, and once the dogs get a little better at it, then it should be okay. Walking one dog on each hand, rather than walk them on the same leash in the same hand together. And because, as you know, the leashes can get tangled, and that's another thing you have to account for. Leashes will get tangled and can get tangled. You can trip, you can hurt yourself. The dogs can hurt themselves. They can fall into a sewer, manhole cover, whatever the situation may be. So this is another thing you want to avoid, and why it's so drastically important that you hold those nice and tight, one on each hand, with one dog on each side. Remember to keep them on that same side every time, so that way they are used to that. Never try to switch them up, because that can and will be a problem. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. Like I said, I hope you learned something, and most of all, I hope you've enjoyed this. Again, my name is Christopher Valancourt, and thank you for watching my TED Talk video using the 8 elements of thinking, talking about walking one dog on each hand, as opposed to both dogs, one in each leash on the same hand. This is a V-splitter. Another option once your dogs become good or can be close to one another. It's just another option that we talked about in the video. This is one leash with 2 dogs. This is a close-up of what the V-splitter actually looks like. And in this picture, these are some tools or other options necessary for walking the dogs. This is the picture of the gentle leader, or the head collar. This is something talked about in the video that keeps the head straight and stops the dog from pulling. It's something that feels like a pair of glasses for the dog. Ray J is the white dog. He is a Shiba Inu. Peanut is the black dog. He is the pug.